Yeah. Good afternoon. Let's resume the session of budget. Let's try to finish up the concept of budget today, and from tomorrow we'll take up some other new topic. Hope you remember you might have gone through all the points, whatever I spoke to you in the previous classes. So now let me straight away open the document for you and have a discussion with respect to the budget. Look at this. Now see here, so the budget has been granted and the money is being spent. But sometimes what will happen is that, look at this note, you just read the point, note, there are various other grants made by the parliament from time to time. This also may not be the part of the budget. What do you mean by this? Now imagine a situation, the budget preparation we have seen, and the budget has been passed by the Lok Sabha, discussed in the Rajya Sabha, later the president has given the assent, and finally it became an act. So the government has started spending the money. But what is the guarantee that the money that is allocated will be sufficient? See here, if you remember the definition that is given by me in the beginning of the classes with respect to budget, during that time I was mentioning that budget is an anticipated income and expenditure. That is an anticipation. So that anticipation may be right, may be wrong. Sometimes the money that is allocated for a particular purpose may be still available because the total money might not have been spent. If the money is available even at the end of the financial year, also no problem. But there may be a situation sometimes the money that is allocated will be over by December, starting from April 1st to, so by December 31st, the money may be over. Example, I'm telling you. You still have 3 months at your disposal, January, February, and March. So during these 3 months, how do you spend the money? Where is the money? That's the reason why the constitution has provided various mechanisms wherein it is not at the time of the beginning of the financial year that you are passing the budget and allocating the money. Even during the but financial year, maybe in the month of May, June, July, August, December, or any time, so there may be a possibility where you will be giving the money to the government. But kindly remember, whatever I am going to talk to you now, it is a part of the constitution, and constitution made elaborate arrangements to give protection to the government. Otherwise here, in the absence of the money, the responsibilities cannot be performed by the government. And what are the provisions that are available? Let's try to understand. I'm opening the document here. Look at this. During this time, we'll come across with the vote of credit, supplementary grant, additional grant, excess grant, exceptional grant, or token grant. What do you mean by this? Look at this. Let me tell you the first one, first of all here. That is a vote of credit. What is the meaning of this? This is just like a blank check. This is just like a blank check. Kindly remember, in the examination, you kindly mention vote of credit is considered to be a blank check. What do you mean by this? For example, see, sometimes there may be a situation where India may be in a position to, maybe India will be forced to engage in war with some other nation. And whenever I am talking about the war, how much money is required, so we don't know. Because the war may continue for 1 week, 1 month, or 1 year. That all depends. And as long as the war is going on, the government is supposed to spend the money, and the government is must try to win this war. Because the prestige of the nation is at the stake, the government should not hesitate, and the government should keep on spending the money. But where is the money that is available? Since we cannot anticipate that there will be a war, during that time, the war amount will not become the part of the budget. But whenever there is a war, you need to spend it. That's the reason why Constitution permitted a mechanism called vote of credit. Meaning, during such type of emergency situations like war, the government will request the parliament to grant money to meet such type of unforeseen expenditure. During this time, if the vote of credit is passed by the parliament, the meaning is nothing but the parliament is giving permission to the government of India to draw the money from consolidated fund of India and spend the money. How much amount of money? There is no limitation. How long you can draw? There is no limitation. Indefinite money for indefinite period of time, that is considered to be vote of credit. Am I clear? It will be used only during the emergency situations like a war. Every time you cannot use it. This is the basic idea with respect to vote of credit. Look at the statement again. The vote of credit is granted for meeting the unforeseen expenditure. This is related to the service of an indefinite character, and the exact demand cannot be stated clearly in the brackets. Look at this. I have given you example war. So this is like a blank check that is given to the executive by the Lok Sabha. That is the meaning of the vote of credit. Next one, supplementary grant. What do you mean by the supplementary grant? Look at this. Just a moment. Yeah. Now I'm highlighting this particular portion. Kindly read this along with me. This is granted when the amount authorized by the Parliament through the Appropriation Act for a particular service for the current financial year is found to be insufficient for that year. What do you mean by this? Imagine a situation where for health purpose the parliament has granted some amount of money. Because of some reason, the money got exhausted before the completion of the financial year. But still there is a need to tackle the problem, but the money is not sufficient. In order to face this situation, the constitution has provided a mechanism called supplementary grant, meaning if the money is not sufficient because of any reason, then the executive, the government will come to the parliament, again request the parliament for giving the additional amount that is called supplementary grant. Look at this. Sometimes the amount is granted may be spent before the completion of the financial year, and there may be a demand for more money. During this time, the supplementary grant is used. Kindly remember, supplementary grant, it is the money that you are giving more for that particular service which is already a part of the budget. But the only thing is that the money that was granted in the form of the budget has got exhausted. It is over. You require more money, and that more money will be demanded in the form of the supplementary grant. Next is the additional grant. Look at this. Sometimes during the financial year in between, if it is at the beginning of the financial year, you will include that in the budget. Sometimes you may not anticipate some necessity may be there, and a new service might have occurred during the financial year, and this particular one can be taken care in the form of the additional grant. Supplementary means we are the government is asking money for the service which is already a part of the budget. But whenever you use the word additional grant, this is for a new service during the current financial year. Am I clear? And look at the point number 2 in the same thing. This new service is not a part of the budget of the financial year. If it is already a part, then I should not use the word additional. It is not a part of the budget. Next one is the excess grant we have. The excess grant is made when the money has been spent on any service during a financial year in excess of the amount granted for that service in the budget for that year. The excess grant is voted by the Lok Sabha after the financial year. Kindly see here, you have already seen the supplementary grant. In supplementary grant also the money is over before the completion of the financial year. In excess grant also we are facing the same problem. That's the reason there is no difference between supplementary grant and excess grant. But the difference is that if we are using the word supplementary grant, the government is taking the permission from the Lok Sabha, then it is drawing the money from Consolidated Fund of India. But if I am using the word excess grant, first the government uses the money, then that will be intimated to the Lok Sabha. So this particular provision has been provided that because every time we cannot expect the Lok Sabha will be there in the session. There may be a situation where Lok Sabha is not in the session, still you require money, and that problem can be tackled through a procedure called excess grant. Okay, but this excess grant must be approved by Public Accounts Committee. Already I told you what is the function of the Public Accounts Committee. That particular one should be approved by Public Accounts Committee. Only after the approval of the Public Accounts Committee, the excess grant is submitted to the Lok Sabha for voting. This is the meaning of the excess grant. Second one is the exceptional grant. Look at this. This exceptional grant is not a part of the current financial year, but this is for a special purpose, not for any ordinary purpose, it's for a special purpose. Next, token grant. What do you mean by this? See, the token grant is meant for transfer of the funds from one head to the other head. What do you mean by this? For example, see, let me tell you, there may be health issues. Like during that time, the government might have allocated 1000 crores for tackling the swine flu issue. And the government have allocated 500 crores for tackling the malaria. But because of some reason, during that particular financial year, there are no malaria cases. Example, I'm telling you, there may not be malaria cases. And the money that is allocated for the malaria, they are still available. But because of some reason, the swine flu cases have been increased, and the money that is given for swine flu tackling, 1000 crores, is found to be insufficient. During this time, instead of going for the supplementary grant or other mechanism, there is another mechanism available in the form of the token grant. If the token grant is accepted by the Lok Sabha, the meaning is that the money that is allocated for malaria, that money will be transferred to tackling the case of the swine flu. That is the meaning of transferring the funds from one head to the other head. From malaria head, the money will be transferred to the swine flu head. That is called the token grant. So during this time, what will happen? You are not allocating any extra money. You are not drawing any extra money from the Consolidated Fund of India. But there is a mechanism where, as a formality, the Lok Sabha will grant 1 rupee. Just 1 rupee will be granted. Formally, you have to do it. And once it is done, the money that is allocated for the one head will be transferred to the other head where you require the money. That is called token grant. Right? Next one. This is also called reappropriation, and this involves no additional expenditure. We are not taking any money extra. Now look at this. There are various types of funds that are available under the Constitution of India. What are these? The Constitution provides three types: Consolidated Fund of India, Public Accounts of India, and Contingency Fund of India. Look at this. The first two are mentioned under Article 266, and the third one is mentioned under Article number 267. Is that okay? Look at this. What is the meaning of this? If you look at the first one, Consolidated Fund of India, no money out of this fund can be appropriated except in accordance with the parliamentary law. Without a law, you cannot take even a single rupee. This fund is mentioned under Article 266. And what is the money that is present here? All receipts are credited to the Consolidated Fund of India. Credited means deposited, added. All the money, whatever the taxes we are paying, whatever the money that we are taking in the form of the loan from the World Bank or IMF, every rupee will come to the Consolidated Fund of India. And all the payments are debited from the Consolidated Fund of India. Debited means we are drawing the money and spending the money, meaning all credits will be made to the Consolidated Fund of India, and all the payments are also debited from the Consolidated Fund of India. Look at this. All expenditure is drawn and income is deposited to the Consolidated Fund of India. Look at this next one. What forms of what forms the Consolidated Fund here? Look at this, simple. All revenues received by the Government of India and also all loans raised by the Government of India by the issue of treasury bills, loans, or various means of advances, and also all the money received by the Government of India in repayment of loans. Every money will come, every rupee will come, and it will become the part of the Consolidated Fund of India. Clear? That's the reason why there's a huge money that is present in this particular fund. Next one is a public account of India. Look at this, another simple one. This is also mentioned under article number 266. All the money received by the Government of India other than those credited to the Consolidated Fund of India are credited to the public accounts of India. Simple point. The money will be either credited to the Consolidated Fund of India or it is credited to the public account of India. And what money will come to public accounts of India? Whatever the money that we are not depositing in the Consolidated Fund will become the part of this. But what are they? Let's see. Look at this. This includes Provident Fund deposits, all judicial deposits, all savings bank deposits, all departmental deposits, and all remittances. Everything will become the part of the public account of India. Look at this. The permission from the legislature is not required for the payments from the public account of India. If you want to draw the money from Consolidated Fund of India, the permission from the Parliament is a must. But if you want to draw the money from public account of India, Parliament will not come into the picture. It is the executive of the day. It will utilize its powers and it will draw the money and pay the money. Look at this. The payments for the public account, the payments from the public account of India are made by the executive action. Last one, we have the Contingency Fund of India. Contingency means it is an emergency. Only under difficult circumstances it can be used. This is mentioned under Article 267. The Parliament has enacted this particular one, Contingency Fund of India Act in 1950. What do you mean by this? The amounts determined by the Parliament by law paid from time to time. The Contingency Fund of India is placed at the disposal of the President. Kindly remember, remaining things will be left to the discretion of the executive. That is, the Council of Ministers will take the decision. But with respect to the Contingency Fund of India, decision has to be taken only by the President. The President of India can make advances out of the Contingency Fund of India to meet unforeseen expenditure pending its authorization by the Parliament. For example, here, sometimes there may be a situation of floods, earthquakes, or tsunami. So during that time, you need to spend the money for providing welfare to the people. You have to give them food, you have to give them clothing, you have to give them the shelter. Rehabilitation has to be provided. But where is the money that is available? Since we cannot anticipate that during a particular month there will be tufan, cyclone, or tsunami, we cannot allocate the money separately for a cyclone. But as and when the situation is coming into picture, the government should be in a position to tackle that situation, but the money is not there. That's the reason why, to take care of such type of instances, the constitution has created the contingency fund of India, and it is kept under the direct control of the president of India. With the permission of the president, you can draw the money and you can spend the money. But after spending the money, whenever the parliament meets, again, the government should inform the Lok Sabha that so much of money has been spent from the contingency fund of India. Again, with the permission of the parliament, I'm sorry, again, with the permission of the parliament, the government will transfer the money from consolidated fund of India to the contingency fund of India. Meaning, every time in the contingency fund, minimum balance must be maintained. If you draw and spend 100 crores from the contingency fund of India, again the money has to be put back into the contingency fund of India, because in future also there may be a situation which is demanding for withdrawing the money from contingency fund of India. That's the reason, once you spend from contingency fund, again the money has to be transferred from consolidated fund of India to the contingency fund of India. Right? Now, look at this. That's the meaning of this. The Secretary of the Department of Finance will held the contingency fund of India on behalf of the president. And the contingency fund of India is operated by the executive action. What do you mean by this? If you want to draw the money from consolidated fund of India, then you have to go to the legislature and you have to take the permission and draw the money. But with respect to contingency fund of India, the money can be drawn through the executive action. Is that okay? Right. See here, when it comes to this budget, it is one of the important areas, especially all the people who are writing civil services with public administration optional. This is every year, almost every, at least one question is coming up in the examination from the budget. If you understand these points, whenever I speak to you, the whole concept of financial administration and public administration, it becomes easy for you to understand. Otherwise, also all the people who are writing the civil services or any other examination, both in preliminary and main examination, this is from this area, very constantly the questions are coming up. Okay, so I want you to go through this particular chapter once again, be thorough with this, and next month we are going to start the Indian Parliament. The budget session is going to be started on February 23rd. Railway budget is going to be introduced on February 26th. Economic survey will be there on February 27th, and the general budget will be introduced on February 28th. Once you understand my classes here, the budget, whatever I spoke to you, it becomes easy for you to follow the concept of the budget practically. You can see what is happening in the parliament. So this is how you can strengthen your ideas. Okay, that's the reason why kindly go through this budget chapters once again, and I will meet you tomorrow again sometime in the afternoon, and we'll continue our classes. So thank you so much for being with me. Take care.